The sun was beginning to set over Ouagadougou, spilling golden light across the narrow streets. The call to prayer drifted softly through the air as families prepared their evening meals. But in one small courtyard, on the edge of the city, the silence was heavy, broken only by the quiet sobs of a woman. Her name was Mariam. She was the mother of Private Souleymane, a young soldier who had fallen just days earlier in a clash with armed groups on Burkina Faso's northern border. Souleymane was only 22. Mariam sat on a low stool, her hands clutching her son's military beret, the red fabric stained from battle. Around her, neighbors gathered, murmuring condolences. But none of it eased her pain. For her, the world had collapsed the moment she received the news. As the night deepened, a knock came at the gate. Mariam did not move. She barely had the strength. A neighbor went to open it. To everyone's shock, standing there was President Ibrahim Traoré himself, not in his usual military convoy, not surrounded by guards, but in simple fatigues. His beret rested neatly on his head, and his face carried the weight of sorrow. The courtyard fell silent. Whispers spread. It's him, the president. Ibrahim stepped inside with humility, bowing his head to the grieving mother. "May I sit with you, my sister?" he asked softly. Tears welled in Mariam's eyes. She nodded, but could not speak. Ibrahim lowered himself onto the ground beside her, refusing the chair offered to him. He wanted to be at her level, to share her pain. For a while they sat together in silence, the only sound being Mariam's quiet weeping. Ibrahim reached out and took her hands gently, holding them as if she were his own mother. Finally, Mariam found her voice. "He was my only son," she whispered. "I told him not to join the army, but he said the country needed him. Now, I am alone." Ibrahim's eyes glistened. He was brave, and he was right, but no mother should have to pay this price alone. He paused, then continued, his voice heavy. "I too am a soldier, and every time one of my brothers falls, I feel it here." He placed his hand on his chest. "But I cannot imagine the pain of a mother who carried him, raised him, and then buries him." The courtyard remained still. Even the neighbors wiped their eyes as they listened. Ibrahim turned fully toward Mariam. "Tell me about him, not as a soldier, but as your son. What did he love? What made him smile?" The question broke something inside her. Through tears, she began to speak. "He loved football. He would play barefoot until his feet were blistered. He always said he wanted to buy me a proper house one day. He used to sing when he worked in the fields." His laughter filled this courtyard. Her voice cracked, and Ibrahim's grip on her hand tightened, steady and firm. He listened, not as a president checking a box, but as a man giving his full heart to another's grief. When she finished, he whispered, "Then let us remember him not in silence, but in laughter, in football, in the dreams he carried. His sacrifice will not be forgotten." Ibrahim stood slowly, addressing everyone gathered. His voice carried both grief and determination. This young man gave his life for Burkina Faso. He stood so that others may live in peace. But his family must not suffer because of his courage. From today, Mariam is not alone. She is the mother of the nation, and we will stand with her. Turning to Mariam, he placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "Your son's siblings, if they wish, will study under the protection of the state. You will have a home that honors Souleymane's memory. And I, Ibrahim Traoré, promise to visit again, not as a president, but as your son." Mariam broke down, sobbing into his chest. Ibrahim held her as the courtyard wept with her. In that moment, titles disappeared. There was no president, no power, only a grieving mother and a man refusing to let her bear her loss alone. As he walked back that night, Ibrahim thought of his own mother. He remembered her sacrifices, how she sold goods in the market to ensure her children could eat, how she prayed for him every time he went off for training, how she stayed awake at night, waiting for him to return safe. He realized then that every fallen soldier was not only a loss for the army, but a wound in the heart of a mother, a family, a community. The following week, Ibrahim announced a new initiative, the Mothers of Heroes. Every mother who lost a son or daughter in the defense of Burkina Faso would receive lifelong support, not just financial, but emotional. Houses would be built in honor of their sacrifice. Schools would bear the names of fallen soldiers, and the nation would celebrate them not with pity, but with pride. Mariam was the first to be honored. She received a new home, but more importantly, she received visits, care, and dignity. Neighbors said she began to smile again, slowly, as if her son's dream of building her a house had finally come true through the hands of the very leader he had sworn to defend. What struck people most was not the policy, not the houses, not even the ceremonies. It was that the president himself had walked into a grieving mother's courtyard and sat on the ground with her. It was a reminder that leadership is not measured in speeches or grand offices, but in the willingness to share the burdens of those who suffer. The story of Ibrahim Traoré and the soldier's mother is more than a tale of loss. It is a reminder of humanity, a reminder that true leaders are not those who stand above, but those who kneel beside. In a world where power often builds walls, Ibrahim chose to build bridges between grief and healing, between pain and pride, between a mother's tears and a nation's gratitude. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because stories like these remind us that compassion is the greatest strength a leader can carry.